My name is Alicia Shapiro with AInews.com, and welcome to another episode of our Driving Tomorrow Conversations with Industry Leaders, where we explore the latest developments and newest innovations in the world of artificial intelligence. Today, I'm excited to speak with Pedro Arellano, the co founder of Wallabi, a veteran in the business intelligence and data analytics industry. With over 25 years of experience across tech support, consulting, product marketing, and leadership roles at companies like Tableau, Looker, and Google, Pedro has witnessed the rapid evolution of analytics firsthand. Now, with Wallaby, he's leading the charge in making AI powered insights accessible to non technical professionals, helping businesses unlock new growth opportunities. In today's interview, we'll discuss how Wallaby is transforming the way business to business marketing and revenue teams connect the dots across their data, the unique challenges of developing AI powered tools for broader audiences, and Pedro's vision for the future of AI in business analytics. Thank you for joining us today, Pedro.
Thank you very much, Alicia, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, absolutely. And Wallaby aims to make data analytics more accessible for everyone, especially those outside of traditional IT roles. So, what inspired you to focus on this segment of users, and how does Wallaby address the challenges they face with existing business intelligence tools?
Yeah, so the fundamental question that we're trying to answer with Wallaby is this. Why is it that more people don't use BI and analytics tools? And this is all well researched and documented. There's tons of studies about this, and they show us that in the average organization, only 25% of employees use data and analytics to make decisions.
Oh, wow.
25%. That's it. So
Hmm.
think about that. That means that 3/4 of your company are just running around making decisions that have no basis on data.
Yeah.
And it's a particularly staggering statistic for an industry that's been around 30 plus years. And we find that very interesting because if you accept the premise that people in general want to be informed and that access to the right information helps us be better at our jobs, if you agree with that, then it really makes you wonder, why is it that 3/4 of people don't like using BI tools?
Right.
And the answer is simply that they're just too hard. 75% of workers find those tools way too hard. And yes, to give credit to the vendors that have come before us, it's true that tools like Tableau helped usher in a new era of self-service analytics, and they help many people work with data on their own in a way that just wasn't possible before. Those people for sure don't think Tableau is too hard, but they're really the minority.
Hmm.
And for every data analyst you find out there that's fanatical about Tableau, or for every data engineer that loves using Looker, you find 3 times that number of marketers and growth leaders and RevOps people who just don't like using those tools. And we hear this at every trade show, at every networking event that we go to, when we speak to people in marketing and revenue teams. And as somebody who comes from those companies, it's really enlightening to hear that. There are
Hmm.
still many people who don't have solutions that work for them. And I think AI gives us an opportunity to help them. And that's really what motivates us.
That's awesome. And you just mentioned 25% of the people only use the business analytics intelligence data. So how does Wallaby tailor its AI-driven insights specifically to meet the needs of the non-technical professionals?
Yeah, so I think it starts by just having a very deep understanding of what that means. Like when you say non-technical professionals, who is that audience exactly, right? We didn't build Wallaby for data analysts and data engineers. We didn't build it for the people who are already proficient at those tools. That's the 25%. They have tools that they
Yeah.
love, they're very good at. We're not saying, no, use Wallaby instead of that.
Mhm.
What's important for us is that 25% thinks about data very differently than our 75%.
Mhm.
And the way they work with data is also very different to the 75%. So I'll give you a couple of examples. We talk to marketing leaders and they tell us they have tons of data and
Mhm.
a lot of data. And yeah, I know that that's really valuable, but I have a feeling that I'm missing something in there. I'm missing opportunities that
Okay.
are hidden in my data, but I don't quite know what questions to ask or how to ask them, right?
Mm. Yep.
So if you try to do this with a traditional BI tool, that tool acts like a blank canvas. They're very reactive. They're expecting the user to come and ask something.
Okay.
So how do we tailor things for our users? Wallaby is more proactive and it's tailored to the user. It uses AI to understand who you are, what your job function is, what your role is, what your business goals are. And it
Mhm.
uses all that to proactively anticipate the questions that matter to you and answer those questions before you need to ask them. The second
Okay.
way we do it is when our users do have questions, right? They're never the types of questions that you see traditional BI tools answer. For example, I saw a demo of another tool a couple of weeks ago where the presenter claimed that this tool was for non-technical business users. And they showed in the demo, you entered in a chat box UX, build a scatter plot of opportunities versus average revenue size at companies between 1 million and $10 million in revenue in ARR over the last 12 months. And I was seeing this thinking, there's no non-technical professional in the world who thinks or speaks like that, right? Our users don't
Right.
think or speak like that. The
Hmm.
questions they have are more like, how do we reduce our customer acquisition costs? Or
Right.
how do we optimize our marketing spend? Or how do we drive greater revenue efficiency? These are
Hmm.
very high level, very open-ended, and very complex questions. And there's no BI tool on the planet that can answer those types of questions, but a Wallaby can.
That's amazing. That's so helpful, actually, because I am one of those non-technical people. And you're right. My brain just doesn't think in data analytics, and it knows it needs the data, but how do you get the information out of it? How do you interpret the data? So yeah, that is super helpful, I imagine, for a lot of people. And you mentioned that Wallaby helps businesses connect the dots across their entire customer journey. Can you explain what that means more in everyday terms? And how does Wallaby identify and surface those critical insights for users? Does Wallaby integrate with other marketing and sales tools to make this process more seamless?
Yeah, so you think of the typical B2B marketing revenue teams, they're using tons of applications, right? And CRM systems and marketing automation tools and Google Analytics. The MarTech stack is just enormous, right? The list goes on and on. Many of these tools, or most of these tools, typically have their own built-in analytics, but there are a few
Mhm.
problems with that. One is they're completely siloed. So
Yeah.
there's no way to connect the dots between them. And number two, they're very hard to use. We're working with the head of marketing at a software company that builds solutions for retailers. And they run all kinds of lead generation tactics. And these leads go into HubSpot. That's their marketing automation tool. And they want to know something that every marketing team out there wants to know is what are the marketing tactics that work best? Right?
Mhm.
Where should we double down on our marketing investments? HubSpot makes it impossible to know this. And that's why they're talking to us. They say it's like this becomes like this black hole of data. And it's just really hard to derive any insights from the built-in analytics that that tool has. But with Wallaby, we make it easy to connect the dots. So first of all, we have a set of connectors that pull data from these different systems. We use AI to infer the business context that's built into the data. So there's no data modeling. You don't see any of the traditional joining tables with primary keys and all that.
Mm.
And you don't defining semantics. Wallaby does all of that. And users can very easily identify then the marketing tactics that are driving more demand without having to just go through all that work, spend hours in spreadsheets or dashboards, or having to use some of those traditional BI tools. Another example is there's another marketing team. This is a tech company that builds solutions for the construction industry. And their situation is interesting because they are responsible for a very large percentage of the business. What that means
Okay.
is this is a marketing team that's highly motivated to use data to find any opportunity out there to drive growth in a more efficient way. So one question they have is, they're a software company. Should we invest more in free trials or demos as a lead
Mm.
generation tactic? And you might have a situation where free trials are generating a higher number of leads, but maybe you get higher quality of leads from the demos.
Okay.
Now you try asking that question to any of the leading BI tools out there, and they won't know what to do with it. But Wallaby can take a question like that, it's very complex, and understand what the user is looking for, and then connect the dots for the user to help them figure out where they should invest more.
That is really cool. And you said you have AI agents that generate and answer questions that users might not even think to ask. Can you give an example of how this feature has uncovered hidden opportunities for your clients?
Yes, great question. So one of the earliest users that we had, this was back when we were still piloting the product, is the VP of e-commerce of the e-commerce team at a small merchandising company. And what they do is they set up and they manage online stores for about 200 different clients, right? So, when you go to that client's online store, this e-commerce team is in the background doing all of that. And they're a good example because they're an example of a small team, very data driven, but they don't necessarily have that expertise in-house to stand up their own analytics environment. So they would have
Mhm.
to rely on their data team or outsource to some expensive data consultant, right? So a solution like Wallaby was very compelling to them. So we took their data, they use Shopify. So we took their Shopify data, put it into Wallaby, and right away, Wallaby started spitting out insights proactively without the VP having to ask things. And
Wow.
one of the first insights that Wallaby produced was that if you apply a 20% discount on your items at these specific times of the year, it's going to result in this for your bottom line. That was a real aha moment for them because number one, he told us, this is great. We've never had a tool tell us a specific number in terms of the discount we should apply. We've always just guessed, a gut
Mhm.
feel. But also, what's really fascinating is he said, I never would have thought of asking that question.
Wow.
And that's when we knew that there's something really magical here, where we've tapped into a real life situation of a lot of leaders who are struggling to find how to drive their business forward but can't necessarily think about, oh, I want to look at this little corner of my data or that corner over there, because that's a really hard thing to do because you're spending all of your brain power on just making the business run. And
Right.
now having this second brain that's just constantly doing this for you is really valuable.
Yeah, that is powerful because, like you said, even the CEO wasn't even thinking of that question to ask. And AI can help you see all kinds of information about your data and your business. That's really powerful. And because of the power of Wallaby, you and I guess Wallaby placed second place at the SDX AI Startup Showcase. And that's pretty cool. Congratulations on your win there because they had so many good companies there, and Wallaby definitely stood out for sure. I know I voted for you. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience and what that recognition means for Wallaby's growth and development?
Yeah, it was really exciting. It was a lot of
Mhm.
fun. And I was the spokesperson, I was the face of Wallaby, but really I have just an incredible team. I have the
Yeah.
most amazing team. And for me, I was delighted that the team's work was recognized and rewarded that way. So to me, that
Hmm.
was the best part. But
Yeah.
also just it was a great experience because I'm in San Diego and the San Diego startup scene and the AI scene is really vibrant.
Yeah.
And it's inspiring to meet a lot of brilliant founders and learn about the AI solutions that they're building. And as a founder, sometimes it can get a little lonely. So I really appreciate the SDX team for organizing these kinds of events. And there's this sense of community that's really wonderful. And again, for us in particular, we were just so honored, so grateful to be
Mhm.
recognized. We weren't expecting it, but it made us feel just that much more motivated and inspired. And there's nothing quite like the validation that you feel when you show your work to people that understand it, that understand the problem, who live it every day,
Yeah.
whether they're marketing leaders or data leaders or founders, and they share their excitement with you when you show them what you've built. For everybody on behalf of the team, just very grateful and very honored.
That's awesome. Yeah, it was a fun night and it was great to see all the different companies there and to hear what they're working on. It was a good time. So congratulations again. With over 25 years in your data analytics industry, you've seen the evolution from early business intelligent platforms to AI tools like Wallaby. What are the key trends in AI driven analytics that you think will have the most impact on businesses in the next few years?
Yeah. I always like to start with people.
Hmm.
And the first trend that I'm seeing is a shift in the audience that is really demanding analytics. I started
Okay.
back when it was still a very IT centric approach. And back in the late
Hmm.
90s, it was all about selling to IT organizations and data teams. But now you find a lot of people that have grown up, let's call it in the age of data. So they're entering the workforce with very different expectations about and demands of data. So you see a more data hungry sort of workforce, right? That's one change. With the way that's being reflected in technology trends and product trends is natural language. Natural language is becoming a big part with BI and analytics solutions. And I think there's pros and cons to that. So I think the good part about it is I believe natural language is a much more intuitive experience
Yeah.
for users than traditional dashboards, right? I'm thrilled that we're going beyond dashboards because I think dashboards are good for certain use cases, but for a lot of people, they're just indecipherable and they carry too much of a cognitive load. So if we can find new ways to communicate insights that don't depend on you having to decipher a dashboard, I think that's great. The con is it's very tempting to just fall into the text to SQL chatbot model,
Mm-hmm.
which I think perpetuates a failed paradigm in BI, which is again, you as a user, you're expected to come to the tool with a well-structured question in mind, and you have to know how to ask it. And I don't think that's going to work. And then I think the last one is just the automation. I think that with AI, we will see a number of tasks that used to be very manual, AI having the ability to automate at least some of it. I think we have a perspective on this in that we're very much in the boat of we need the human in the loop.
Yeah.
This idea that you can replace humans or analysts or whatever with AI. We don't agree. There's a lot of hype and misinformation about AI and what it can do or can't do, and will it
Yeah.
replace us and super intelligence and all that. We see AI as a tool,
Mm.
and it's a very powerful tool, and it allows us to build experiences and solutions that just weren't possible before, but it does have serious limitations, and it's no replacement for what's always just essential, which is just having a very deep understanding of the user and the audience that you're serving and the problems that they're solving.
Right. That's those are great insights. Thank you for that. And before we wrap up, I'd like to shift to a couple of lighter questions so our audience can get to know you a little better. When you do step away from your work, what are some activities or hobbies that you're passionate about?
It's nothing terribly exciting. I love spending time with family. I'm a big
Hmm.
family guy. We love going out, fun little day trips here in Southern California. I enjoy reading. I'm a nonfiction guy. I like books on history. Lately, I've gotten really deep into golf course architecture, which I know is
Oh,
weird.
wow.
I play golf. I'm obsessed with the game, even though I'm just an average player. In
Mhm.
on a good day, I'm a big soccer nut. I just love sitting down and watching a game on the weekends,
Yeah.
and I play guitar, although not as much as I used to. So
Hmm. That
that's it.
sounds fun. Nice and relaxing. That's good times.
Very, yeah.
And finally, what piece of advice would you give to someone looking to break into the AI driven data analytics industry, especially in terms of understanding and leveraging the power of AI tools like Wallaby?
Great question. I think it's a phenomenal time to break
Hmm.
into this industry. I've been in this space for 26 years now, and I feel very confident in saying there is as much buzz and energy and investment happening in this space than there's ever been, maybe even more. You find, just a number of startups doing interesting things, and I fully expect in the next 5 years, we're going to see a handful of these companies emerge as serious threats to the existing market leaders. And I think that's just a lot of fun. Advice, I always cringe giving advice, but I
Hmm.
think there's one thing I would say is I alluded to this earlier. Think of AI as a tool. It's
Hmm.
a very powerful tool. It has really, I think, has transformative potential, but it is nonetheless a tool. And
Right.
one of many, by the way. It's still important to understand fundamental data and analytics principles. I think that remains very important. And most of all, just recognizing that at the end of the day, we're really all just trying to help people solve business problems. And there's
Hmm.
nothing that's more valuable than analytics, than AI knowledge, than talking to customers and spending time with them and understanding their business and learning the language that they speak and becoming familiar with the tools they use and using that to develop expertise and perspectives on the problem that they want to solve. And I think that this is as true today as it was when I started my career many years ago.
That's great advice. Thank you for that. And thank you so much, Pedro, for joining us today and sharing your valuable insights. Your work with Wallaby and your dedication to make data analytics more accessible for everyone has been truly inspiring. It's a great product, And I think it's very powerful for many people. And it's exciting to see how your vision is transforming the way businesses leverage AI to drive growth and success. So I appreciate you joining us. And for our audience, if you'd like to know more about Wallaby, you can visit their website, wallaby.ai. Keeping you connected to tomorrow. Today, this is Alicia with AInews.com.